Good morning, everybody. Today we are doing something a little bit different, and we are looking at a pretty old kit. This is the 1/1000 scale USS Enterprise B. And this kit came out when the movie Generations came out. This was kind of the first continuation of the Enterprise line after the movies with Kirk and Spock. Now, in the Star Trek universe, the Enterprise B is an upgraded Excelsior class ship. And AMD already had an Excelsior class model that they had had on the shelves for a while. So this is kind of one of those classic Excelsior kits that AMT had been putting out for a few years by the time Generations came out. Now, the ship designers for Generations modified the Excelsior, giving it a few more impulse engines and kind of changing this part of the engineering section to kind of differentiate it and make it different and make it special. So AMT had to modify their model kit to make it into the B. Now, this was the first time a Star Trek model had really been done in a 1/1000th scale design. And after that, they did the B. But since then, they've done most of the movie Enterprises in a 1/1000th scale. So this B kit that we're going to look at, even though it may be old, it's still a very useful one to have because it complements this line. And you can do the NX-01, the original Enterprise, the A, the Excelsior, the B, and I believe also the Defiant in 1/1000th scale. All right, so let's crack open this box and see what's in it. Kind of a walk down memory lane to see models in the late 90s. Now, the first thing I'm kind of excited about is this one has a Star Trek print inside it. It has a poster. I think that's going to be one of the cutaway posters of either the Enterprise A or D. And I've never seen the D. I've seen the A a couple times, so I'm hoping it's got the cutaway of the Enterprise D. But wonderful box art here. The back, of course, is just cardboard. And it looks like that one picture of the Excelsior just kind of gets repeated on a few of the sides. Over 18 inches long. And actually, on this side, we get kind of this cool little diagram to tell people the warp engine wing, the photon torpedo launcher. So that's kind of a cool little piece of art there. And of course, lots of different languages. All right, let's cut this open and take a look at what we have inside. All right, so the first thing I want to see is I want to see that exclusive print. All right. Oh, and it looks like it is the 1701D. So I've never seen this cutaway here. And hard to tell if some of those brown spots are just artistic because it's kind of an old blueprint, or if it's just kind of has aged a bit in there. But yeah, kind of cool. Look at that kind of depiction of the warp engine, engineering. That's really kind of a fun print. I'm going to have to kind of compare it and see if some of these things that we're seeing are because it's old or if they actually intended it to look that way. It wasn't in a plastic bag, so it may just have aged. All right, let's take a look at what materials they gave us. Okay, so we've got an advertisement for the... Oh, look, they've got an advertisement for another one of the posters. This is a cutaway of the original Enterprise you could order, and a shuttle and a bridge So you could order a Deep Space Nine poster, the TOS poster. So you could pay $15 for the Enterprise, or you could pay an extra $30 to get a limited edition poster. That's kind of expensive even now, for just kind of a printed poster. And in the late 90s, that would have been quite expensive. But that's a cool poster. I'm sure there's a handful of those on eBay that are fetching a fair amount. All right, let's look for the instructions. And it looks like they are in this bag. Oh, and the decals are in here too. All right, hardly any decals at all. We've got the name, the registry, and some of the marking pennants going across here. A few of the red lines. My best advice on a kit like this is just toss those and get some new ones from Federation Models. All right, big instructions. Oh, we've got another order form. All right, here's another printed material here. Join the official Star Trek fan club in Aurora, Colorado. Wonder if it's still there. 6 to 8 weeks. An advertisement to join the Blueprinter, another modeling club. That's a good price, you know. $10 for 6 issues. I bet you won't get a price like that anymore. And let's look at this. So this looks like, this is something else you don't get anymore. This is a huge, really, this is probably 24 inches by 18 or so. Huge newspaper kind of sheet of all the decals and where everything goes. I mean, let me grab my built Excelsior to show you kind of the scale of this. This is a big piece of paper. Man, yeah, tons of paint guidance. Very, very clear where everything goes. You don't get instructions like that anymore. All right, so if that's the paint decals. All right, here are our instructions. And once again, a huge piece of paper. Really, this square here is as big as my hand. I don't know that you need an instruction sheet this big to kind of tell you steps like that. We put those 3 pieces together, but kind of fun just to see how it used to be done. Really huge. So you get kind of a blurb talking about the Enterprise here. Some information, just basics about cutting parts off the sprue. And let's take a look at the plastic. All right, so let's take a look at some of this plastic. Here's one of our first parts. Here's the engineering hull halves. And so it looks like these were completely redone to be the Enterprise B rather than Excelsior. And what's interesting here is these parts they redid, they molded in some of the windows. The Excelsior has no molded windows at all, but you can see along this ridge, those are molded in. They're molded in here. That would make it very nice, so you can tell where to cut those out in order to light the ship. But it's actually not nearly as many as you would actually need. When you look there, sure, they've given us a few of the molded windows here and some of the ones here, but look at all the other windows the ship has. So it'll be kind of inconsistent. Nice of them to do it on the new part, but it kind of makes the rest of them all a little inconsistent. Now the other big change from the Excelsior is the saucer section. So first thing you'll see is the saucer section has these added engines here, and those are fairly well done. Nice engraved detail on them. And then interestingly, it looks like there have been some changes made to this deck and to the bridge. If we look at the Excelsior, we'll see there is some detail in between those impulse engines here. There's a little bit of detail that's removed on the D, or on the B, I'm afraid. And the other thing that I find very interesting is there are very subtle changes done to the bridge dome. If you really look in here, you'll see some of these lines radiating out, a couple dots here to represent windows, a couple of the lines here, and that looks different on the B. I'm not quite sure why they would change that, but yeah, maybe just the molding couldn't do some of those finer details anymore. But yeah, those lines that radiate out there are gone, and the detail back here between those impulse engines is gone. The other interesting thing that you'll see here is these curved lines are recessed, and the radiating lines that radiate out, those are raised. That'll be a little bit tricky if you want to do anything like washes to accent the panel lines, since those are raised. And once again, completely smooth around the edge, no molded windows, no windows provided by decals. So giving this ship windows is a fairly tricky thing. Here's the underside of the saucer. Very similar to what we saw on the top. This is exactly the same as it was when it was the Excelsior. Recessed curved lines, raised radial lines. You do have a lot of phaser bumps here. Once again, no windows and no clear parts to help you light the sensor dome. All right, looking at some of the other parts. This is the neck. The neck comes in 3 pieces that get glued together. Then you get some torpedo launchers built in there. And that is actually one of the trickier parts on this kit. Those ridges don't line up quite right, so you end up with a pretty difficult seam right there on the neck on the Excelsior. Now let's look at the nacelle. The nacelle you kind of build up from the bottom. So you start off with a bottom piece like this, and then you actually build layers on top of it. So you start by putting in a clear piece on top of it on both sides. And then on top of that clear piece, you'll actually put another clear piece on top of it, and you'll kind of sandwich that one in. On the back, you get an end cap like this to go over the back, and on the old Excelsior you got a rounder piece on top to fit on the top there. On the Excelsior, to make it different, this is a sprue of completely new parts done just for the Enterprise B. These kind of wrap around the front from either side. So here's that nacelle on the Excelsior. You've got that bottom part. This is the clear part here that I've painted gunmetal. Then this blue part is the clear piece that goes on top. Then the end cap from the back. And on the Excelsior, you had this end cap that goes on top and front. The new one, you're going to, instead of that, one of these snaps on to make it the B instead of the Excelsior. So overall, this is a pretty nice kit. It builds up to a good size. I think it's going to need a lot of aftermarket help, though. I think you'd want aftermarket decals for the windows. I think that it would be a very hard kit to light. The big thing about lighting it is they gave you a few windows that you could use as to know where to drill out windows here. But I think it would be pretty hard to drill out all the windows along the saucer Even under here, you'd have to drill all those out. You just have no guidance for where to do those. Aftermarket decals for the windows would help. Maybe apply the decals and use those as markers to know where to drill out. They give you a lot of nice clear parts for the nacelles, but it would be hard to run wires up there. You do have two halves for the pylon, so you could run some magnet wire there. But it would be a harder thing to do. But if you want to complete a set of Enterprises in the 1/1000 scale, this is probably the kit you're going to need to get. I know Round 2 has re-released it in the past 10 years or so, but it's going to be the same plastic as what you see here. Same problems with the windows, same weirdly raised lines on the saucer, and probably still need to go out and get some aftermarket parts. So that's our look at the vintage Star Trek Generations Enterprise B. A good-sized kit, still one that is valuable and useful today. But yeah, it's going to take quite a bit of work to bring it up to kind of the standard we expect in a model kit these days, with the paneling details and windows represented either painted or lit on the model. So definitely a lot more work, but definitely one that will look great when it's completed, and absolutely necessary to continue your line of TOS, Enterprise A, Enterprise B, C, D, and E. All right, thank you guys for watching. We have a few more vintage kits like this we're going to unbox over the next couple days. And then hopefully some more models, new releases from Round 2 in the next couple months. So thank you guys for following the channel. Have a great day.